Yes, luck. Yeah, right. But the bread in Kurdistan is some of my favorite bread of all time, and there's such a great variety of it. Like samoon, of course, but many types of naan, and there's a what is it? Nani tiri, and very dry. The peshmerga could carry it, yeah, very easily, and then I think it's nani saji, now saji. I love that. That's my favorite. But then, yeah, I love it. And then there's another one that you probably don't see around Howler much, but it's very popular along the Iranian border. It's Nani Nani Haurami. Yes. Oh, I spent a lot of time in the Hauraman. Yes, yes. Yeah, I've been to Biara and Halabja, of course. He's from Biara. Oh my gosh. Was he there when we destroyed the Al Qaeda Shura in Biara? Yeah. I met an interesting lady near Biara. Um, sh- uh, um, oh, I think her name might have been Fatma Khan. Um, she was from maybe she was from Gulip or Bakakon, Bakakon. Yeah, she was an interesting lady. Interesting lady. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So I met her. I was with a bunch of Peshmerga one day, and we were up in, well, near where Ansar al-Islam had fighting positions, and um, I dressed like the Kurds much of the time, and I had a Smili Gora, um, big mustache, and she saw me, and I thought I blended in, but she saw me. Maybe, but there were Kurds who had skin color like mine too, of course. But yeah, in either case, in either case, she came up to me and said, she says, "Oh, American, please come in. I want to make all of you lunch." And there's like 12 of us. And I said, "Well, Pure, thank you, but we don't really have the time for lunch, and that's very nice of you." All right, very good. Well, first, I would like to congratulate the Prime Minister on his visit to the United States. I think this was a very good initiative on the part of Prime Minister Barzani. And frankly, we need more visits like this because unfortunately, Americans' focus tends to get distracted. And right now, we have many Americans who are focused on Ukraine, the fighting in Ukraine, are focused on Gaza and Israel. But this visit helps remind Americans about our tremendous allies in the Kurdish region. And I'm very, very grateful the Prime Minister has made this visit. He visited with Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and I understand Blinken reaffirmed the United States commitment to our Kurdish allies. And he acknowledged the special relationship we have with our Kurdish friends over there. And I can tell you, it is a special relationship. Nowhere else in the Middle East have I found such tremendous allies and friends and great fighters in the Peshmerga. So I'm indebted to my time embedded with the Peshmerga. So I'm very happy that the Prime Minister has visited. Well, I can tell you right now that the United States should be demanding right now that Baghdad turn the oil pipeline back on because Tehran has been trying to choke the oxygen out of Kurdistan. They're doing it economically, they're trying it militarily, they're trying it judicially through the Supreme Court in Iraq, which has essentially been co-opted by Iranian interests. But the United States needs to demand that Baghdad allow Kurdish oil exports again. That's number one. Number two, the United States needs to demand that Baghdad start sending the 17% of Iraqi federal monies to the Kurdistan region. That is required in the Iraqi constitution. Baghdad has never done that. They've never sent the full amount, and they usually send nothing at all. So it's time. It's way past time to turn on the 17%. Also, the United States needs to take more steps to in place integrated air and missile defense systems protection over Erbil and over our own forces that are up there in the Kurdish region. And I would say the fourth thing we can do is demand the direct equipping of the Peshmerga, the direct equipping and funding of the Peshmerga. Right now, we've got some stipends going to the Peshmerga from the United States, but that needs to get ramped up. And instead of sent through Baghdad first, go straight to Erbil. Yes, it's absolutely. It was time 10 years ago. Um, it's certainly time now. So I hope Secretary of State Blinken covered some of those items, some of those topics with the Prime Minister as well. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be up to many of us who are serving in Congress right now, to keep the pressure on this Biden administration to do the right things for for the joint interests of the United States and Kurdistan. Well, we can increase many of the sanctions on some of the bad actors that are in and around Baghdad these days. Um, so that we need to increase the sanctions. I've long favored a strong U.S. presence on the ground in Kurdistan. Listen, we established U.S. bases in Germany after World War II, not because we wanted to control or own any German territory, but for the sole purpose of deterring future war with the Soviet Union. And it worked. We kept 4.5 heavy divisions, U.S. divisions, in Germany throughout the Cold War, and it deterred further war with the Soviet Union. We need to do the same thing or something similar. We could certainly establish a U.S. base on Kurdish soil, and that can help counterbalance these threats from Iran. These are threats not just to Kurdistan, but to humanity. For the first time since the Persian. No, I love that question. The first question, though, really is why were we not able to deter these attacks? So we've had these attacks on Erbil, which are terrible, and we've also had 170 or more attacks on U.S. interests and U.S. forces by Iran and its proxies throughout the Middle East, all the way to Israel, to the Red Sea, to the shores of the Eastern Mediterranean, and it continues. We, the United States of America, should be able to deter those threats. We did that back in 1988. Recall during the tanker wars when Iran was threatening to shut down the Straits of Hormuz, to start placing mines in the Straits of Hormuz. And President Reagan said, you know what, Ayatollah Khomeini, you shouldn't do that. And he did it anyway. And you know what we did? We launched Operation Praying Mantis and we sunk half the Iranian Navy, largest naval engagement since World War II. And guess what? Iran stopped mining the Straits of Hormuz. Unfortunately, Tehran responds only to force, and we need to show force. Weakness provokes war, strength deters war. We must show more strength. Yes, it's irrational to show weakness. It's irrational not to secure our interests and our allies' interests or help them secure it. So I don't know. You'll have to ask President Biden. It's a mystery to me why Biden has chosen this weak course of action. I think I think he's um, trying to befriend Iran in some way. I think he's afraid of provoking Iran. But like I said, weakness provokes Iran, not strength. Well, I hope this isn't the last visit. Like I said earlier, I believe this is an essential visit by the Prime Minister, and I hope we see more because we've got to keep, for the joint interests of the United States and our Kurdish allies, we've got to keep reminding Americans of this important ally and its capabilities and its geostrategic significance. I mean, Kurdistan sits on very important terrain. It is it is the only terrain that is available right now and welcoming to U.S. forces to establish a counterweight to Iranian power in the region. And it would be wonderful if we could do that. And even like we did in Germany, allow American soldiers to bring their families there too, because families will establish contacts with Kurdish friends and friendships will develop and better understanding. And I would be all in favor of that. Well, Tehran has been hoping American forces would withdraw completely for 20 years. Um, and unfortunately, it looks like the Biden administration is listening to them at this point. I'm saying my prayers that the Biden administration does not withdraw U.S. forces. We know what happened in December of 2011 when President Obama withdrew the vast majority of U.S. combat power from Iraq. What happened? Iran and its proxies surged in immediately and became the dominant power in the region. Immediately, they began to co-opt the Iraqi ministries. They co-opted the Iraqi security forces. By the way, in 2017, maybe, in 2017, General Qasem Soleimani boasted, quote, that the Iraqi security forces are now a Hezbollah army, end quote. Amazing statement. And the Iranian proxies, the Hashd al-Shabi, inside the Iraqi security forces today, they started at 110,000. Well, the Iraqi government has now doubled the the money, the budget for the Hashd al-Shabi, the PMU, the Popular Mobilization Units. So what? Is it going to grow to 220,000 now? That's not in the interest of the United States. And it's not in the interest of our Kurdish allies. Well, thank you, gentlemen. By the way, the translation, you guys maybe were the easiest people for me to talk to on Kurdish media today. It was sometimes the questions are hard to understand, but today it was seamless. Thank you. It was yeah. Hey, let me ask you another question. Have you been to Ahmedabad? Isn't Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And I know Jormal very well. Um, oh, okay. All right. There's a very, very, very old mosque in Jormal. It's I think it's in ruins now, but yeah, and I think there's some hot springs, hot water, um, in Garau. Yes, 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 yes. And no, and the shadows were playing. The soil is black. It grows great shooty, great water. And well, my pleasure. Thank you so much. And yeah, all right. Well, it's by the way, if you've not done so, send me a request on Facebook so we both of you so we can stay in contact. Oh, are we? Okay. Send me a message, please. All right. Okay. Hafiz. Hafiz.